Shutdowns are an extreme measure. We know very well that they have tremendous harms. They have tremendous harms on people, on their lives, on their health, on their mental health, on their ability to get the best care for major problems like heart attacks, like cancer care. They can take a major toll on unemployment. They can take a major toll on leaving people who are disadvantaged even more disadvantaged. It protects some of us who have the means to shelter, but it lets essential workers, it lets disadvantaged populations pretty much unprotected. Does it have any benefits? There's some data that suggests benefits, but as we will discuss, most of these data suggest that the benefits are actually modeling artifacts. They're not real. Do we have effective measures to deal with the crisis? We do. We have many measures to deal effectively with lowering the caseload and decreasing the deaths that would ensue from them. We know far more than when this pandemic started. We know whom to protect. We know where are the settings that are the disaster potential, like nursing homes that account for 40 to 65 of all deaths, both in the US and in Europe, like nosocomial infections, like high-risk individuals that we need to protect with very draconian measures. We know how to act with precision, and we should do that rather than just destroying our entire society, our entire country, and eventually also the entire world, because much depends also on what the US is doing. When we're saying shutdown or lockdown or complete lockdown, in fact, a very large segment of the society continues to work and be exposed actually to very high risk. And it's usually disadvantaged people. Essential workers are heroes. They're working for us. They get exposed in high-risk jobs that we cannot really live without them. From the very beginning of our discussion, I mentioned that what I do care about is saving lives. I don't think that shutdowns are saving lives. I think that they're killing people, and they're killing some people immediately, but they're killing even more kind of in the midterm or long term through the consequences of all of these disasters on multiple fronts of public health, of society, of well-being, of mental health, of violence, of people just getting crazy.
It's become an all too familiar scene at the intersection of coronavirus and gun violence in Chicago compared to last year.
An uptick in domestic violence cases as stay-at-home orders force victims into close quarters with abusers and make escape.
But people have stayed home for myriad reasons, even if it meant ignoring chest pain.
We have enough evidence that they can be devastating. It is a blind measure. It is kind of a medieval measure. It's the equivalent of just cutting your arm because you have some joint pain in your hand. And I think that we should just not repeat this. We know far more about this virus. We know far more about who it affects, where it kills, where it strikes hard, whom to protect, what to do. We should struggle to really implement all this knowledge towards saving lives. I think that shutdown really protects those who do not necessarily need to be protected. It destroys those who have no risk. It destroys those who have risk. I think that it creates far more problems than we have. I don't think that this will be 1918. Of course, every virus can come back, even for influenza. Every year it kills about 300 to 800,000 people. We don't know whether this year is going to be a good year or a bad year. Same thing for COVID-19. I think we should prepare for the worst. And I think that we should use the knowledge that we have to protect those people in those settings where we can make a difference. We haven't done that. Surprisingly, we haven't done that. We still have people dying in nursing homes, in hospitals. We have disadvantaged people dying. And at the same time, we could avoid many of these deaths. So it is a major problem. We should do our best, but please don't shut down the world. I don't think that really lockdown was what worked in China. I think that the lockdown happened after the epidemic wave had peaked. My colleague at Stanford, Michael Levitt, has shown pretty convincingly, looking at the epidemic wave curves and modeling them with Gompertz functions, that this might be the case, both in China and in other places. I think that lockdown and shutdowns have not really worked in the past. I think that they did cause tremendous harm. I think if you look at multiple indicators of health, at multiple indicators of societal well-being, of economy, of unemployment, they have been devastating, both in this country and elsewhere. Do we have a large number of cases? Yes, we do. Actually, I would argue we have far more than 50,000. We just do some testing and we're missing many, many more. So probably the number of cases is far, far more than what we are detecting. However, even with increased testing, we do see that even in these hot epicenters that are still brewing, the number of cases is going down. If you look at California, Texas, Florida, the number of cases, even with increased uptake of testing, has peaked around July 12th to 22nd and has been plateauing and going down since then. If you look at deaths that follow the peak in cases by a couple of weeks, they're also starting to go down. So it's a little bit after the fact. Actually, the time that we diagnose cases is not when people get infected. It's already a week. Sometimes it may be much more than a week. It could be even several weeks or a month and a half after people have been infected. So I think that shutdown at this point would make no sense. Even the claimed benefits of lockdown in some modeling studies, as I said, they seem to be modeling artifacts.
Imperial College in London released a COVID-19 report, and that's where most of our U.S. leaders are getting the information they're basing their decision-making on.
The report runs us through a few different ways this could turn out depending on what our responses are.
If you take the Imperial College model that suggested that millions of lives were saved in Europe by shutdowns and lockdowns, if you use their own model that they applied to the U.S., you see that there's no benefit. So lockdown and shutdown is a nuclear weapon that destroys everything other than doing what it's supposed to do.